Welcome back to Pound for Pound ATL. What's going on, football fans? It's me, J.R. Clark, back again with another rendition of the Pound for Pound. Man, it has been a lot of fun. It's been great these past few weeks interacting with y'all. We had last week or so, we had a winner on our 3,000th subscriber, Marwin. We were able to send him a $100 gift card for being our 3,000th subscriber, and that was a lot of fun. And that's something that we're going to continue doing, doing different contests here and there, or giveaways, however you want to frame it. We followed that up with a giveaway to a previously unreleased video. It still necessarily hasn't been released to the public yet, but we gave it a link out to a few of our subscribers for them to check it out. That's something that we're thinking about doing. Is recording, maybe small videos and releasing them to, just randomly picked subscribers, or maybe doing something that will allow y'all to a different way to interact, because that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to build a decent community, where we're trying to build a community that is interactive with each other, and more than just in the comment section and things like that. So as me and Toby come up with different ways and different ideas to interact with y'all, we'll definitely start putting that into play. So keep an eye out on the channel, on our Twitter page. You can email us at Pound for Pound ATL. That's POUND, the number 4, POUND ATL @gmail.com. That's another way to get a hold of us. We always just encourage y'all's interactions. If you're new to this channel, go ahead and subscribe. Drop us a comment. We want this to feel and be like a community of like-minded, mostly positive Falcons fans. So, that's something that we're hoping to achieve there. Anyway, so today what I want to talk about is an interview that took place, I don't know, probably 2 weeks ago now or so. It was a quick interview. The Atlanta Falcons have been doing these small interviews with their players over Skype or Zoom or FaceTime, what have you. I'm not exactly sure what platform they're using, but they're doing these little small interviews, and they were doing one with John Cominsky. Now, John Cominsky himself is going into his second year. He's been a topic of discussion here on the channel, and as far as Dan Quinn has been concerned, he's made mention that they plan on playing John Cominsky inside and outside. I really feel like he's one of the reasons why we didn't necessarily try to bring back Adrian Claiborne. I think they liked in what they saw towards the end of the season as far as Cominsky was concerned. So they felt good about letting him take a larger role, which I think is great to see. You drafted this guy in the 4th round. You really hope he does start to blossom into either a starter or a heavy rotation player, one of the two. So anyway, there were certain things that caught my interest as far as that interview went. And no, it wasn't the idea that Cominsky put together a whole bunch of puzzles, him and his mother-in-law and his wife. Yeah, that sounds great. That's awesome. That's that good, wholesome, content that you want to hear. That's that bland stuff. But in these type of interviews, you got to listen for the little nuggets, right? The little things that, may slip out, so to speak, that coaches may not necessarily want them to talk about. And it started around about the 3 minute and 37 second portion of this 4.5 minute video. And it started with him talking about bringing in Dante Fowler Jr. And, so your ears perk up, because that's probably right now our biggest acquisition of the offseason.
Dante Fowler, obviously he can rush the passer, so we're going to try to get him in one-on-one situations.
When he brought his name up, all he really said was like, oh yeah, he can rush the passer, and they want to try to get him on one-on-ones. That makes sense, right? you definitely want to try to get Dante Fowler in one-on-one. So you do that. Well, they did that quite a bit with the way they used Vic Beasley, and I could see them using Dante Fowler in a lot of the similar ways that they use Vic Beasley, like standing him up on the end. That's where he had his most success in LA last year, is he stood up the vast majority of the time. So I don't see them asking him to really put his hands in the dirt and rush from the three-point stance. I really feel like they're probably going to move Dante Fowler all over the formation, whether it be coming in on twists and stunts or just, lining him up wide 9 and letting him come at the quarterback from that angle. So I definitely see Dante, them doing an interesting things to try to get and keep Dante Fowler as much one-on-ones as they can. One of the interesting things that he mentioned,
if you have a linebacker who's really good at blitzing like Deion Jones, we're going to find ways to get him in the mix and get him into that A gap.
When you have, I think his words verbatim maybe here was, when you have a linebacker that's good blitzing like Deion Jones, which is interesting because Deion Jones hasn't done a ton of blitzing. That was more of Devondre Campbell that got sent on more blitzes than Deion Jones. But he said when you have a linebacker that's good at blitzing like Deion Jones, you come up with creative ways to send him through like the A-gap blitzes. So now that comment right there was one of the comments that got me thinking. So I started doing some more digging and some more research, and in 2014 when Dan Quinn was the DC up at Seattle, they did a lot of like blitzing off the edges with cornerbacks and a lot of blitzing from like the safety position and stuff like that. I mean, they blitzed almost 24% of the time in 2014. Now, that's not like super high, but it's more than we've seen Dan Quinn do really here in Atlanta. So that was very interesting in the sense that I believe Raheem Morris is going to be a lot more creative, I feel like. So after looking at the 2014, then I was like, well, what are you doing, Jared? Why are you looking at 2014? In the sense of Dan Quinn, when Raheem Morris is going to be your DC. And Dan Quinn in the past few years has shown, at least on the offensive side of the ball, that he's willing to give his coordinators free rein. So then that got me thinking like, okay, what does Raheem Morris like to do? So I went and watched some tape of Raheem Morris when he was the head coach down at Tampa. And the one thing I noticed, as him being a cut branch from the tree of Monty Kiffin and Tony Dungy in that Tampa 2, I really got to looking at what are the blitzes, what are the types of things that they like to run in those Tampa 2. And I ran across this article from Monty Kiffin's time with the Dallas Cowboys. And one of the things that they talked about was an oversword zone X. Now, this is a play from their playbook. I'm sure the terminology is different these days. But it was a zone blitz with the using the Sam linebacker. Now, once I read that, I really got to look at it. It's like, that's something that Raheem Morris carried with him as a head coach. He sent the Sam linebacker, like if there was a blitz coming, a lot of times it came from the Sam linebacker. Now, I would be more excited about that if we still had Devondre Campbell. But that could be the role of one Michael Walker, who is almost, as I stated before in my Michael Walker video, cut from a very similar cloth as Devondre Campbell. So early on in his career, he may be that blitzer that Raheem Morris loves to send as far as the Sam linebacker is concerned. Now, this is where it could get real interesting and real creative with the signing of Deone Bucannon. Now, Deone Bucannon can play safety and play linebacker. He played safety in college and has played linebacker for the most of his career in the NFL. You can use somebody like Deone Bucannon in safety blitzes or linebacker blitzes and use him very well to disguise what you're going to do. Now, also keep in mind, I'm going to show a play right here where Dan Quinn loved to send Brian Poole on a blitz. So Dan Quinn is not it's not unheard of for Dan Quinn to use safeties or slot corners on blitzes, and I think it's something that Raheem Morris can incorporate into his scheme. Another comment from John Cominsky was talking about having safeties and corners coming off the edge.
So I think it's going to be an aggressive play calling, aggressive style. There's going to be a lot of movement on the defensive line with a lot of linebackers and safeties coming off the edge around us. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
And blitzing, and for them, it was going to be interesting and fun for them because Raheem Morris seemed like he was going to be more of an aggressive play caller. So these are all things that perk me up, and I don't think we'll ever get back to the, Gritz blitz days, or even the amount of blitzing that Todd Bowles and Rex Ryan used to like to do. But I would like to see a lot more blitzing coming from this team in 2020, because I read a very interesting article talking about the zero coverage blitzes. Now, zero coverage blitzes is literally like sending everybody. Like, everybody's man up, there's no deep safety, and you're just sending the house. Now, I'm not advocating for sending the house all the time, but for you analytics people, there's a ton of analytics that show sending, the more people you send, obviously the more pressure you get on the quarterback and the better success rate you have. So with them hiring an analytics firm, or bringing in more analytics guys, whether it's on the behest of Rich McKay or whoever, I really be interested if somebody brings that to the attention of Dan Quinn or Raheem Morris, because dialing up pressures and dialing up blitzes from a ton of different ways is an amazing way to be creative and affect the quarterback. It was something that's probably been one of the biggest issues that I've had with Dan Quinn thus far, is I felt like he didn't blitz enough. Like, when he did blitz, or when he did try to do something, he seemed to lean more towards twists and stunts necessarily than blitzes. Now, we have good personnel, almost amazing personnel, to do these twists and stunts. You got to have athletic guys who can close the distance, which you have in Dante Fowler and possible Charles Harris, depending on how he comes along. So the idea of doing a lot more blitzing is something that when John Cominsky said that in this article, that really perked my ears up and really made me think, oh man, this could be, finally we could have an aggressive defense in a way that gets after the quarterback. I mean, we haven't had like steady success getting after the quarterback since John Abraham was here, and that was, as y'all know, that was a while back, and he never did have a real good running mate. So I'll be real interested to see how they deploy guys like Dale Buchanan, because I think he could be a Brian Poole-esque player who can get to the quarterback, can lay some pressure, and can launch from a lot of different angles and a lot of different starting points. So that's something to keep an eye towards as we progress through the off season. Now, still no training camp in sight so far. Seems like the COVID stuff is still rearing its head. So hopefully we will get some actual training camp action going forward. Now, another interesting thing to think about is that there is still we still got like $11 million something in cap space. Now, we haven't signed any of our rookies yet, and I'm not exactly sure what the holdup there is. I keep waiting any day to see them, start signing the rookies, if they haven't done so as of yet. But I still expect to see another free agent signing, whether it be somebody like possibly an Everson Griffin or even a Marcus Golden, but maybe Darquez Denard, depending on what they think about the cornerbacks when they actually finally get to lay eyes on them. I wonder how much that's affecting them not signing anybody. They haven't really been able to lay eyes on anybody yet. So all that being said, really interested to see what comes up in the next few weeks, whether it be camp or hopefully some use of some free agent money. But either way, that's what I got for you today. So maybe we'll be talking about the resurrection of the Gritz Blitz on some future live streams as the season progresses. But let me know what y'all think down below. Do you think you're going to see more blitzing this year? Do you find it interesting on what Cominsky had to say? And what are you expecting, I guess, out of the Falcons this year as far as the defensive line goes? But that's all I got for you. As always, you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Grim1128. Toby D is at Toby D1991. As I stated earlier, you can also email us at poundforpoundatl@gmail.com. That's spelled out except for the number 4. So it's poundforpoundatl@gmail.com. Drop us a line, drop us an email. Keep an eye out on Twitter and stuff like that, and on the channel. We'll be doing more giveaways with videos and possibly merchandise, or maybe even another $100 gift card. Who knows? But thank you for all your support. And as always, Falcons fans, rise up.